The sun beat down mercilessly on the Utah desert as Quinn noticed the vultures circling about a quarter-mile ahead. Their dark wings stark against the blazing sky, and his gut told him that whatever they were interested in was either already dead or soon would be. He urged his mare forward, squinting against the relentless glare bouncing off the red sand and rocks. The year was 1883, and Cole had been riding between Moab and the scattered ranches to the south for the better part of 3 days now, carrying messages and supplies as he often did to earn his keep. The landscape stretched endlessly in all directions, beautiful in its harsh way, but unforgiving to anyone foolish enough to underestimate it. As he drew closer, his heart lurched. It was not a dead animal the vultures were interested in, but a figure in a pale blue dress, collapsed on the ground beside what looked like the remains of a broken wagon wheel and scattered belongings. Cole spurred his horse into a gallop, shouting and waving his hat to scare off the circling scavengers. He dismounted before his mare had fully stopped, rushing to the woman's side. She was young, maybe early 20s, with dark auburn hair that had come loose from its pins and now lay matted against her dust-covered face. Her lips were cracked and bleeding, her skin burned an angry red from the sun. Cole pressed 2 fingers to her throat and felt a faint, rapid pulse. "Miss. Miss, can you hear me?" He gently turned her onto her back, shielding her face from the sun with his own shadow. Her eyelids fluttered but did not open. Cole wasted no time. He retrieved his canteen and carefully tilted her head, letting just a few drops of water touch her parched lips. Too much too fast could make her sick. Her tongue moved instinctively, seeking the moisture, and he gave her a bit more. "That is it, slow now," he murmured, supporting her head with one hand while continuing to give her small sips. "You are going to be all right, I have got you." After a few moments, her eyes opened, unfocused and confused. They were a striking green color, even dulled as they were by suffering and dehydration. She tried to speak but only managed a hoarse croak. "Do not try to talk yet," Cole said softly. "Just drink a little more." She obeyed, her eyes never leaving his face as if trying to determine whether he was real or a desert mirage. When she had taken several more small sips, Cole carefully lifted her, marveling at how light she was, and carried her to the sparse shade of a rock outcropping about 20 feet away. He laid her down gently and removed his vest, rolling it up to place under her head. "I am going to check what happened to your wagon," he told her. "I will be right back. You just rest." She made a small sound that might have been agreement, and her eyes closed again. Cole quickly surveyed the scene. The wagon was not just damaged but completely destroyed, as if it had hit something at speed and shattered. One wheel lay several yards away, splintered beyond repair. The other 3 were broken or missing entirely. Scattered around were various belongings. A trunk with clothing spilled out, some cooking implements, a leather-bound book, and what looked like painting supplies. There was no sign of a horse or mule, though the broken harness suggested there had been one. No other person was visible anywhere, living or dead. Cole frowned, trying to piece together what had happened. The tracks were confused, overlaid with wind and sand, but it looked like the wagon had been moving fast, perhaps running from something or someone, when it hit a large rock that was now visible protruding from the sand nearby. He gathered what seemed most valuable or useful: the book, some clothing that was not too damaged, a small leather pouch that clinked with coins, and a photograph in a silver frame showing the woman with an older couple, presumably her parents. He brought these items back to where she lay, and then retrieved a blanket from his own bedroll to spread over her legs, protecting them from further sun exposure. "Can you tell me your name?" he asked, kneeling beside her again with the canteen. This time her voice worked, though it was barely more than a whisper. Rose Gardner. Rose, he repeated, liking the way it sounded. I am Cole Quinn. Can you tell me what happened? Where are the others who were with you? Her eyes filled with tears that traced clean lines down her dusty cheeks. There was only me and my uncle. We were traveling from Denver to meet my father in Moab. He struck a claim there, wanted us to join him. 3 days ago, maybe 4, I have lost track. We were attacked. Not Indians, just men, outlaws I think. They shot my Uncle Thomas when he would not give them our money. Cole felt anger tighten his chest but kept his voice calm. Where is he now? Dead. I had to leave him. The horse bolted when the shooting started and I could not control it. The wagon hit something and broke apart. I was thrown clear, but the horse kept running with part of the harness. That was, I do not know, 2 days ago, maybe 3. The sun and the nights, they all started blending together. You have been out here alone for days. Cole was shocked she had survived at all. I tried to walk, but I got turned around. I had a small canteen, but it ran out yesterday morning. I thought I was going to die today. More tears fell. I prayed someone would find me before those birds did. Well, someone did, Cole said firmly. And you are not going to die. Not today, not any day soon if I have anything to say about it. He helped her sit up slowly, supporting her back against the rock. I need to get you out of this sun properly and get some real fluids in you. My horse can carry us both back to Moab, but it is a hard ride, several hours at least. Do you think you can manage it if I help you? Rose looked at him with those striking green eyes, and he saw determination there beneath the fear and exhaustion. I can manage. I have to. My father will be worried sick. He was expecting us 5 days ago. Your father is Matthew Gardner, the prospector who struck silver up in the canyon, Cole asked, suddenly making the connection. He had heard talk of a man who had found a decent vein and was working to stake his claim properly. You know him. I know of him. Moab is not that big a town. Word gets around when someone has good fortune. He helped her take a few more sips of water. We will get you back to him, but first I need to make sure you can ride. Can you stand? With his help, Rose managed to get to her feet, though she swayed dangerously. Cole kept a firm grip on her waist, steadying her. She was taller than he had first thought, probably about 5.5 feet, and beneath the layers of dust and sunburn, he could see she was quite beautiful. More than that, though, there was something in her bearing, even in her weakened state, that spoke of intelligence and spirit. I am sorry, she said, embarrassed by her weakness. Do not be. You survived days in the desert alone. That takes more strength than most people have. He meant it. He had seen grown men die from less. Cole fashioned a makeshift bundle with the salvaged belongings, tying them with rope from his saddle. Then he helped Rose over to where his mare waited patiently. The horse, a steady buckskin named Daisy, did not spook at the addition of the disheveled woman, which Cole took as a good sign. This might be uncomfortable, he warned as he prepared to lift Rose into the saddle. I have been uncomfortable for days, Rose replied with a hint of dry humor that made Cole smile despite the grim circumstances. This can hardly be worse. He lifted her easily, and she settled into the saddle with a small gasp of relief at being off her feet. Cole tied the bundle securely, then mounted up behind her, reaching around to take the reins. Rose stiffened at first at the intimate proximity, but then seemed to realize she had little choice. She was too weak to ride on her own, and there was no other way to transport her. Lean back against me, Cole said matter-of-factly. You will need the support, and I need to make sure you do not fall off if you get dizzy. Hesitantly, Rose allowed herself to rest against his chest. Cole tried not to notice how she fit against him, or the faint scent of lavender that clung to her hair beneath the dust and sweat. He nudged Daisy into a gentle walk, heading north toward Moab. They rode in silence for a while, with Cole stopping every half hour or so to give Rose more water and check that she was managing. The sun continued its relentless assault, but Cole kept them moving at a steady pace, knowing that getting Rose to proper shelter and care was more important than avoiding discomfort. "Tell me about your father," Cole said after they had been riding for over an hour, partly to keep Rose alert and partly because he genuinely wanted to know more about her. Rose was quiet for a moment, then began to speak, her voice growing stronger as the water continued to revive her. "He was a shopkeeper in Denver for 20 years, sold general goods, did well enough. But after my mother died 2 years ago, he just could not stay there anymore. Everything reminded him of her. He sold the shop and came out here to try his luck prospecting. He wrote to me 3 months ago saying he had found something real, something that could set us up properly. He wanted me to come be with him, to start fresh together. And your Uncle Thomas came with you. He was my mother's brother. He did not have anyone else either. It seemed like an adventure, a new beginning for both of us." Her voice caught. "He was a good man. He deserved better than to die on some lonely desert road, shot by thieves." "I am sorry," Cole said, and he meant it. The West could be cruel, and good people died every day for no better reason than being in the wrong place at the wrong time. "We will report it to the marshal when we get to Moab. They will send someone out to find him, give him a proper burial." "Thank you." Rose was quiet again, then asked, "What about you? What were you doing out here?" "I work as a courier, among other things. Carry messages and supplies between the ranches and Moab, sometimes farther if the pay is right. I was coming back from a run down to the Turner spread when I saw the vultures." He paused. "I am glad I did." "So am I," Rose said softly. "I thought I was going to die alone out there. I have never been so frightened in my life." "You are safe now," Cole assured her, meaning it with every fiber of his being. Something about this woman had gotten under his skin in the short time since he had found her. Maybe it was her courage, or maybe it was simply that she needed help, and he had been raised to protect those who could not protect themselves. Whatever it was, he felt a fierce protectiveness toward her. As they continued riding, the landscape gradually began to change. The flat expanse of desert gave way to rising red rock formations, stunning in their stark beauty. The afternoon was wearing on toward evening, and the shadows grew longer, offering some relief from the heat. Rose had grown heavier against him, and Cole realized she had dozed off, exhausted beyond measure. He adjusted his hold, making sure she would not slip, and continued riding. Daisy was tiring but remained steady. The mare had carried him through worse. The sun was painting the western sky in shades of orange and gold when the scattered buildings of Moab finally came into view. It was not much of a town, just a cluster of wooden structures along the main road with a scattering of tents and temporary dwellings where prospectors and workers lived. But to Cole, who had been worried about getting Rose to safety, it looked beautiful. Rose stirred as they entered the town, blinking and looking around in confusion before remembering where she was. "We made it," Cole said. "Let me take you to the doctor first, then we will find your father." "No," Rose said, suddenly alert. "Please take me to my father first. I need to see him to tell him about Uncle Thomas. The doctor can wait a few more minutes." Cole hesitated, but the plea in her voice convinced him. "Where is he staying?" "He has a cabin on the east edge of town," he wrote. "Near the old cottonwood that was struck by lightning." Cole knew the place. He turned Daisy and headed in that direction, navigating the dusty main street. A few people glanced at them curiously, taking in Rose's disheveled appearance and Cole's protective hold on her, but no one interfered. The cabin was small but well built, with smoke rising from its chimney despite the warm evening. A man was outside chopping wood, his back to them. He was in his 50s, Cole guessed, with graying hair and the weathered look of someone who had spent time outdoors. "Papa," Rose called out, her voice cracking with emotion. The man spun around, the axe falling from his hands. His face went pale, then flushed with relief and joy and confusion all at once. "Rose! Rose!" Cole quickly dismounted and helped Rose down, steadying her as her father rushed over. Matthew Gardner grabbed his daughter into a fierce hug, tears streaming down his face. "I thought you were dead," he said brokenly. "When you did not arrive, I rode out looking, but the desert is so vast. I thought I had lost you like I lost your mother. Oh God, Rose, where have you been?" "Where is Thomas?" Rose clung to her father, sobbing. "Papa, Uncle Thomas is dead. We were attacked and the wagon broke and I have been lost in the desert. I would have died if not for this man. Quinn found me." Matthew looked over Rose's head at Cole, his eyes red but filled with gratitude. "You saved my daughter." "I did what anyone would have done," Cole said, uncomfortable with the intense emotion. "No," Matthew said firmly. "Not anyone. Most would have ridden past, not wanting to get involved. You saved her life, and I will never forget that." He turned back to Rose, cupping her face in his hands and examining her sunburned skin and cracked lips with concern. "You need a doctor. Come inside, let me take care of you." "She needs fluids and rest," Cole said. "I gave her water on the way, but she has been without for days. And she needs something for the sunburn. Her back and shoulders are badly burned." "Come in, both of you," Matthew insisted. "Please, Mr. Quinn. Let me offer you supper at least and a place to sleep tonight if you need it. It is the least I can do." Cole wanted to refuse to maintain his distance, but something made him accept. "Thank you. Let me tend to my horse first." "There is a small corral out back," Matthew said. "Help yourself." Cole led Daisy around the cabin and unsaddled her, making sure she had water and the bit of grain he kept in his saddlebags. The horse deserved rest after the long ride. Then he gathered the bundle of Rose's salvaged belongings and headed inside. The cabin was small but comfortable, with a stove, a table, 2 chairs, and a bed in the corner. Matthew had settled Rose in the bed and was pressing a damp cloth to her face. A kettle was heating on the stove. "I am going to make some broth," Matthew said. "She needs something gentle on her stomach. There is a medical kit in that box if you could bring it over." Cole found the kit and brought it to the bedside. Together, he and Matthew carefully cleaned Rose's burns and applied a salve that smelled of herbs. Rose bore it stoically, though Cole could see her wince. "I am sorry, sweetheart," Matthew murmured. "I know it hurts." "It is all right, Papa," Rose said. "I am just so glad to be here, to be safe." Her eyes found Cole's. "Thanks to you." Cole nodded, feeling that strange tightening in his chest again. "You are welcome." While Matthew finished making broth and fussing over his daughter, Cole sat at the table and told them everything he could about what he had found at the wagon site. Matthew's face grew grim when he heard about the attack and Thomas's death. "Those monsters," he said quietly. "Thomas was a gentle man. He never hurt anyone in his life." "I will report it to Marshal Hayes in the morning," Cole promised. "He will get some men together to ride out and find Thomas, bring him back for a proper burial, and maybe track the men who did this." "I would like to go with them," Matthew said. "Thomas was my brother-in-law, my friend. I owe it to him." "Papa, you should not," Rose protested weakly. "It could be dangerous." "She is right," Cole agreed. "Let the marshal handle it. You need to be here for your daughter." Matthew looked torn but eventually nodded. "You are right. Rose needs me, but I want those men found and brought to justice." "We all do," Cole said. They ate together as the evening deepened into night. Rose managed half a bowl of broth and some water before exhaustion claimed her completely. She fell asleep still in her torn, dusty dress, and Matthew covered her with a clean blanket, his expression tender. "She looks so much like her mother," he said softly. "Same hair, same eyes, same stubbornness." He turned to Cole. "You will take the bed by the stove. I insist. It is not much, but it is better than the ground." Cole started to protest, but Matthew waved him off. "I will not hear any arguments. You brought my daughter back to me. Everything I have is yours if you want it." "I do not want anything," Cole said honestly. "I am just glad I found her in time." The two men prepared for sleep. Matthew pulled out a bedroll and made a pallet on the floor near Rose's bed, clearly wanting to be close in case she needed anything during the night. Cole settled onto the narrow cot by the stove, which was indeed more comfortable than sleeping outside. But despite his exhaustion, Cole found sleep elusive. His mind kept replaying the moment he had found Rose, the fear he had felt that she might be dead, the strange surge of protectiveness that had gripped him. He barely knew her, had spent only a few hours in her company, most of that time riding in silence. Yet something about her had struck him deeply. He could hear her breathing in the darkness, steady and alive, and felt relieved all over again. The next morning, Cole woke to the smell of coffee and frying bacon. Matthew was at the stove, cooking breakfast with the skill of someone who had been taking care of himself for a while. Rose was still asleep, her face peaceful despite the sunburn. "How is she?" Cole asked quietly, sitting up. "She did not wake once during the night, which is good. She needed the rest." Matthew poured coffee into a tin cup and handed it to Cole. "I cannot thank you enough for what you did. I meant what I said last night. If there is anything I can do to repay you, name it." Cole shook his head. "There is no debt. I did what was right. Still, I would like to do something. Are you married, Mr. Quinn?" The question surprised Cole. "No, I am not. Why do you ask?" Matthew looked embarrassed. "I hope you will forgive a father's presumption, but I saw the way you looked at my daughter last night, and I saw the way she looked at you. There was something there, something I recognized because I felt it myself once with her mother." Cole felt heat rise in his face. "Mr. Gardner, I assure you I have no dishonorable intentions toward your daughter." "I did not think you did," Matthew said quickly. "If I thought that, we would be having a very different conversation. But I am saying that if you were interested in getting to know Rose properly and respectably, I would have no objections. You are clearly a man of honor." "I appreciate that," Cole said carefully. "But your daughter has just been through a terrible ordeal. I doubt romance is on her mind." "Perhaps not right this moment," Matthew agreed. "But she will recover, and when she does, well, I hope you will still be around." Before Cole could respond, Rose stirred, her eyes opening slowly. She looked around the cabin, seeming momentarily confused before memory returned. Her gaze found Cole, and a small smile touched her lips. "Good morning," she said, her voice hoarse but stronger than yesterday. "Good morning," Cole replied, feeling absurdly pleased by that smile. "How are you feeling?" "Like I was dragged behind a horse through the desert," Rose said wryly. "But alive, which is more than I expected 2 days ago." She carefully sat up, wincing at the pain from her burns. "Is there any water?" Matthew rushed to pour her a cup, helping her drink. "Slowly now, your stomach needs to readjust." Rose drank carefully, then looked at her father. "I need to wash and change clothes. I must look like something the cat dragged in." "You look beautiful," Matthew said with a father's bias. "But yes, I will heat water for washing. And I have your trunk here, the one you sent ahead last month, so you have clean clothes." "You do look better than yesterday," Cole offered, which earned him a real laugh from Rose. "That is not saying much, considering yesterday I was half dead from thirst." As Matthew heated water and pulled out Rose's trunk, Cole excused himself to check on Daisy and give the family some privacy. Outside, the morning was cool and pleasant. the brutal heat of the day not yet established. Moab was coming awake around him, with people beginning their daily routines. Cole brushed Daisy down and made sure she had fresh water. He was considering what to do next when Matthew emerged from the cabin. "She is washing up," he explained. "I thought you might want to walk with me to see the marshal, report what happened." "Of course." The two men walked through town to a small building that served as the marshal's office and jail. Marshal Hayes was a weathered man in his 40s with sharp eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. He listened carefully as Cole and Matthew explained what had happened. "I will get some men together and ride out today," Hayes said grimly. "We have had reports of a gang working the road south of here." "Could be them. How many did you say attacked you, Miss Gardner?" "She said 3 men," Matthew answered. "She is resting now, but I can bring her by later if you need to question her directly." "That would help. Meanwhile, I will see about retrieving her uncle's body." Hayes looked at Cole. "You willing to guide us to where you found the wagon?" "Of course," Cole agreed. "I can take you there." "Good. Meet back here in an hour. Bring your horse and supplies for a night out. The site is far enough we might need to camp." Cole agreed and headed back to the cabin with Matthew. Inside, Rose had transformed. She was clean, her hair brushed and pinned up properly, wearing a simple green dress that brought out her eyes. The sunburn was still visible on her face and arms, but the dirt and desperation were gone, revealing the beautiful, intelligent woman beneath. "You look much better," Cole said, then immediately felt foolish for stating the obvious. Rose smiled. "I feel almost human again. Thank you again for saving me, Mr. Quinn. I have not properly expressed my gratitude." "Cole, please, and no thanks are necessary." "They absolutely are necessary," Rose insisted. "You saved my life. That is not something I will forget." Matthew explained about the marshal's plans, and Rose agreed to go speak with him that afternoon. "I want those men caught," she said fiercely. "They murdered Uncle Thomas in cold blood. He begged them not to shoot, offered them everything we had. They killed him anyway, just for sport it seemed." Cole felt anger surge through him again at the senseless cruelty. "The marshal will do everything he can to find them. And you are going with him?" Rose asked, a note of concern in her voice. "Just to show them where I found you. I will be back tomorrow most likely." "Be careful," Rose said, and the genuine worry in her eyes made Cole's heart do something strange in his chest. "I will." Cole gathered his things and prepared for the journey. Before he left, Rose caught his hand, her fingers warm against his. "Thank you again, Cole, for everything." "You are welcome, Rose," he said softly, very aware of the feel of her hand in his. Then he forced himself to turn away, mounting Daisy and riding to meet the marshal. He had a job to do, and he could not afford to be distracted by a pair of green eyes and a smile that made him feel like he had been kicked by a mule. The ride out with Marshal Hayes and 3 deputies was long and hot. Cole guided them to where he had found Rose, and they spread out to search the area. Thomas Gardner's body was found about a mile from the wagon wreckage, already in poor condition from the heat and scavengers. They wrapped him carefully and placed him on a pack horse for transport back to Moab. Hayes examined the wagon site carefully, reading the tracks and signs with the skill of someone who had spent years tracking outlaws and criminals. 3 men, like she said. Looks like they rode off to the southwest after the attack. Trail is cold now, though, several days gone. "Can you track them?" Cole asked. "Maybe. I will put word out to the other towns, see if anyone has seen them. 3 men traveling together with goods to sell will be noticed." Hayes looked at the broken wagon with disgust. "Senseless killing. That is what makes me angriest." "They did not need to shoot him." "Most killing is senseless," one of the deputies, a young man named Pete, observed. "Does not make it any less common out here." They made camp for the night near a small spring and started back to Moab at first light. Cole rode in silence for most of the journey, his thoughts on Rose. He wondered how she was doing, whether she had recovered more of her strength, what she and her father were talking about. It was foolish to be so preoccupied with a woman he barely knew, but Cole could not help it. There was something about Rose that called to him, something beyond her beauty or the circumstances of their meeting. She had a strength in her, a resilience he admired. And when she looked at him with those green eyes, he felt something shift inside, something he had never experienced before. They reached Moab in the late afternoon. Cole helped deliver Thomas's body to the undertaker, then reported to Matthew's cabin to let them know what they had found. Rose answered his knock, her face lighting up when she saw him. "You are back," she said, sounding genuinely pleased. "I was starting to worry." "I said I would be back today," Cole reminded her gently. "I know, but still, things happen out there. I know that better than most now." She stepped back to let him in. "Papa is at the mine. He went to do some work this morning. He wanted to keep busy, I think. To not think about Uncle Thomas." "That is understandable." Cole removed his hat, suddenly feeling awkward at being alone with her. "We found your uncle. The undertaker has him. There will be a service tomorrow if that gives you enough time to prepare." Rose nodded, her eyes filling with tears. "Thank you. At least now he can be buried properly with dignity. That is something." She wiped her eyes. "I am sorry. I have been crying on and off all day. It hits me at strange times, the reality that he is gone." "You do not need to apologize for grieving," Cole said. "He was family." "You loved him." "I did." Rose gestured to the table. "Sit, please. Can I get you coffee, something to eat? I made stew earlier. I do not want to impose." "You are not imposing. Please, it is the least I can do." Cole sat while Rose bustled around, serving him stew and coffee. It felt oddly domestic, comfortable in a way that surprised him. They ate together, talking about the search, the town, small things that helped fill the silence. "What will you do now?" Cole asked. "Will you stay here with your father?" "I think so. I have nothing to go back to Denver for. My life was there with my mother and she is gone. Papa wants me here, and honestly, I think I want to be here too. It is beautiful country in its way, harsh but beautiful." She paused. "And I feel like I have unfinished business here." "What kind of business?" Rose met his eyes steadily. "I want to help catch the men who killed my uncle. I want to testify against them, see them hang for what they did." Cole understood that desire for justice. "The marshal is doing everything he can." "I know. I spoke with him for over an hour this afternoon. I described the men as best I could, though it all happened so fast. But I will recognize them if I see them again. I am sure of that." They talked until Matthew returned, tired and dusty from his work at the mine. He greeted Cole warmly and insisted he stay for supper. Cole found himself agreeing, unable or unwilling to leave Rose's company. Over the next several days, Cole found himself spending more and more time at the Gardner cabin. He told himself it was to check on Rose's recovery, to make sure she was healing properly from her ordeal. But truthfully, he just wanted to be near her. They would sit and talk for hours, sharing stories about their lives. Rose told him about growing up in Denver, about her mother's illness and death, about her work helping her father run the shop. Cole shared his own history, about being raised on a ranch in Texas, about coming to Utah to find work and freedom, about the loneliness of the courier life. Rose healed quickly. The sunburn faded to a tan, and her strength returned. She began helping her father with cooking and cleaning, and even expressed interest in seeing his mine. Matthew was delighted by this, and Cole accompanied them on a trip up the canyon to see where Matthew was working. The claim was modest but promising, with a visible vein of silver running through the red rock. Matthew explained his plans for extracting and processing the ore, his enthusiasm infectious. Rose listened intently, asking intelligent questions that made her father beam with pride. "She has a head for business," Matthew told Cole as they rode back to town. "She practically ran the shop for me the last few years before I sold it." "I can believe that," Cole said, watching Rose ride ahead of them, sitting tall and confident in the saddle despite her recent trauma. Thomas Gardner was buried in Moab's small cemetery 3 days after Cole found Rose in the desert. It was a simple service, attended by Matthew, Rose, Cole, and a handful of others who had known Thomas during the brief time he had spent in town before setting out to bring Rose from Denver. Rose read a psalm and spoke briefly about her uncle's kindness and gentle nature. She cried but did not break down, maintaining a composure that Cole found remarkable. After the service, as they walked back toward the cabin, Rose suddenly stopped and turned to Cole. "Would you walk with me? I need to clear my head, and Papa is going to the saloon with some of the men." "Of course," Cole agreed immediately. They walked out of town, following a path along the creek that ran past Moab when it had water, which at this time of year was not much. The sun was setting, painting the red rocks in shades of purple and gold. Rose was quiet and Cole did not push her to talk, content to simply be in her presence. Finally, Rose spoke. "I have been thinking about what you said the day you found me. You said I had strength, that surviving what I did took courage. But I do not feel strong or brave. I feel like I got lucky, that if you had not come along exactly when you did, I would be dead and picked clean by vultures." "Luck was part of it," Cole admitted. "But you had already survived for days before I found you. You had the sense to try to save water, to find shade, to keep moving when you could. A lot of people would have just laid down and died. You fought to live." "I suppose I did," Rose said quietly. "I just keep thinking about Uncle Thomas, about how he fought too. He tried to protect me, tried to talk those men down, and they killed him for it." She turned to Cole, her eyes fierce. "I want to do something to honor him, something more than just putting flowers on his grave." "What do you have in mind?" "I do not know yet, but something. Maybe help other travelers, warn them about the dangers. Maybe work with the marshal to make the roads safer. I have not worked it out yet, but I will." Cole felt his admiration for her grow even stronger. "I think that is a fine way to honor his memory." They walked further, the conversation turning to lighter topics. Rose asked about Cole's work, and he found himself telling her things he rarely shared with anyone, about the loneliness of the trail, about the satisfaction of successfully completing a difficult delivery, about his dreams of maybe one day having a ranch of his own. "Why have you not done it?" Rose asked. "You clearly have the knowledge and the skills. Money mostly. Land is not cheap and neither is stock. I have been saving, but it is slow going." He shrugged. "Maybe someday." "I hope you do it," Rose said sincerely. "You deserve to have something of your own, something permanent." "What about you?" Cole asked. "What do you want, I mean, beyond seeing justice for your uncle?" Rose was quiet for a long moment. "I want to feel safe again," she finally said. "That sounds silly, I know, but being out there in the desert thinking I was going to die, it changed something in me. I realized how fragile life is, how quickly everything can be taken away. I want to build something that lasts, something that matters." "That does not sound silly at all." They had reached a spot where the creek widened into a small pool, reflecting the colorful sunset sky. Rose sat on a flat rock near the water's edge and Cole joined her. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the light fade. "Cole," Rose said softly, "can I ask you something personal?" "Of course." "Why have you never married? You are a good man, honest and kind and brave." "Surely women have been interested." Cole felt heat rise in his face. I suppose I never met anyone I wanted to marry. My work keeps me moving around a lot, and most women want stability, a home, security. I have not been able to offer that. What if you could? What if you had the money to start your ranch, to settle down? Would you want to marry then? Maybe. If I found the right woman. He looked at her, his heart pounding. Someone strong and intelligent, someone who is not afraid of hard work or challenges. Someone who understands that life out here is not always easy but can still see the beauty in it. Rose held his gaze, and Cole saw something in her eyes that made his breath catch. That sounds like a very specific woman. Maybe it is, Cole said quietly. The moment stretched between them, charged with possibility. Cole wanted to kiss her, wanted it with an intensity that surprised him. But Rose had been through so much, and he did not want to take advantage of her vulnerability or gratitude. He forced himself to look away, breaking the spell. "We should head back," he said, his voice rough. "It is getting dark and your father will worry." Rose looked disappointed but nodded. "You are right." They walked back to town in silence, but it was a different kind of silence now, weighted with unspoken words and feelings. When they reached the cabin, Matthew was already there, having returned from the saloon. He took one look at them and smiled knowingly but said nothing. "I should go," Cole said. "I have a job tomorrow, riding down to the Clements ranch with supplies." "When will you be back?" Matthew asked. 2 days, maybe 3 depending on whether they have any return messages. "Come for supper when you get back," Matthew invited. "Rose has been practicing her cooking, and I am sure she would like your opinion on her efforts." Rose blushed but smiled. "I would like that." "If you want to come, that is." "I want to," Cole said without hesitation. "I will be here." He tipped his hat to them both and headed to the boarding house where he kept a room. As he lay in bed that night, Cole could not stop thinking about Rose, about the way she had looked at him by the creek, about the possibility he had heard in her voice when she asked about his future. He was falling in love with her. The realization should have terrified him, but instead it felt right, like something that had been inevitable from the moment he saw her lying in the desert and felt that surge of protectiveness. He had saved her life, but maybe she was saving his too, offering him something he had not even known he wanted. A reason to stop drifting, to put down roots, to build something permanent. The job at the Clements ranch went smoothly, and Cole found himself rushing through it, eager to get back to Moab and Rose. He rode hard on the return journey, pushing Daisy faster than he normally would have. The mare seemed to sense his urgency and gave him her best effort. He arrived back in Moab dusty and tired but went straight to the cabin, not even stopping to wash up first. Rose answered his knock, her face lighting up with such genuine joy at seeing him that Cole felt his heart flip in his chest. "You are back early," she said. "We were not expecting you until tomorrow." "I finished sooner than I thought," Cole said, which was not exactly true but not exactly a lie either. "Is the supper invitation still good?" "Of course. Come in. Let me get you some water to wash up. You look like you have been eating dust." "That is about right," Cole admitted. While he washed his face and hands, Rose moved around the small kitchen area, preparing food. Matthew was still at the mine, she explained, but would be back soon. Cole watched her work, admiring the efficiency of her movements, the way she had made this rough cabin feel like a home in the short time she had been here. "I have been thinking," Rose said as she worked, "about what we talked about, honoring Uncle Thomas. I spoke with Marshal Hayes, and he suggested I might help him by talking to travelers coming through town, warning them about the dangers and giving them advice about safe routes and precautions. He said too many people come out here completely unprepared for how harsh it can be." "That sounds like a good idea," Cole said. "You certainly have first-hand experience with what can go wrong." "Exactly, And maybe if I can help even one person avoid what happened to me, it will mean something." She paused in her work, looking at him seriously. "The marshal also said he is forming a citizens' committee to work on improving safety on the roads. He asked if I would be willing to serve on it, maybe help raise money to hire more deputies or establish way stations with supplies. That is quite an undertaking. I know, but I want to do it. I need to do something meaningful, Cole. I cannot just sit here and play house while people die out there because they do not know better or because there are not enough lawmen to protect them." Cole felt his respect for her deepen even further. "I think you will be excellent at it. And I will help however I can." "Really?" Rose looked pleased. "That would mean a lot. You know the roads and the dangers better than anyone. I would be honored to help." Matthew arrived home shortly after, tired but happy to see Cole. They ate together, talking and laughing, and Cole felt something he had not felt in years, like he belonged somewhere with someone, like he had found a family. As the evening wore on and Cole prepared to leave, Rose walked him outside. The night was cool and clear, with stars scattered across the black sky like diamonds. "Cole," Rose said, her voice hesitant, "I want to thank you again, not just for saving me, but for everything since. For being here, for supporting me, for treating me like I am more than just a helpless woman who needs protection." "You are much more than that," Cole said firmly. "You are one of the strongest people I have ever met, man or woman." Rose stepped closer, close enough that Cole could smell the lavender soap she used, could see the way starlight reflected in her green eyes. "I need to tell you something, and I am just going to say it plainly because I am not good at hinting or playing coy. I have feelings for you, Cole Quinn. Strong feelings. I think about you constantly, look forward to seeing you, feel happier when you are around. I know we have not known each other long, and maybe it is too soon for me to feel this way, but I do." Cole's heart was pounding so hard he was sure she could hear it. "Rose, I feel the same way. I have since the day I found you in the desert, maybe even because of it, I do not know. But being with you feels right in a way nothing else ever has." "Then why have you not said anything?" Rose asked, a hint of frustration in her voice. "Because I did not want to take advantage. You have been through trauma, and I did not want you to confuse gratitude with something else. I did not want you to think I saved you expecting some kind of reward." "I am not confused," Rose said firmly. "And this is not gratitude, though I am grateful. This is me, clear-headed and healed, telling you that I have genuine feelings for you and wanting to know if you feel the same." "I do," Cole said, the words coming easily now that he was finally saying them. "I am falling in love with you, Rose Gardner. Maybe I already have fallen. I have never felt this way about anyone before." Rose's smile was radiant. "I am falling in love with you too." Cole reached up and gently cupped her face, giving her time to pull away if she wanted. She did not. Instead, she leaned into his touch, her eyes closing briefly. Then Cole leaned down and kissed her, soft and gentle, a kiss full of promise and possibility. When they pulled apart, Rose was breathless and smiling. "I have been hoping you would do that. I have been wanting to do it since that night by the creek," Cole admitted. "Then why did you wait so long?" "Because I wanted to be sure. Sure that you were healed, sure that this was real, sure that I was not just some romantic fantasy born out of desperate circumstances." "You are not a fantasy," Rose said, reaching up to touch his face. "You are real and you are good, and I want this. I want you." They kissed again, longer this time with more heat and passion. When they finally broke apart, both were breathing hard. "I should go," Cole said reluctantly. "Before your father comes out here and shoots me for compromising his daughter," Rose laughed. "He would not shoot you. He likes you. He has been hinting for days that I should tell you how I feel." "Has he now?" Cole was not entirely surprised. Matthew had been making himself scarce lately, giving them time alone together. He wants to see me happy. And you make me happy, Cole. You make me happy too, Rose. Happier than I have ever been. They stood there for a few more minutes, neither wanting to part, before Cole finally forced himself to leave. He walked back to the boarding house feeling like he was floating, his heart full in a way it had never been before. Over the next few weeks, Cole and Rose spent as much time together as his work allowed. They walked together, rode together, talked for hours about everything and nothing. Rose threw herself into her work with the Citizens Committee, and Cole helped her plan routes and identify dangerous areas that needed patrol or way stations. Matthew watched their courtship with approval, never interfering but making it clear he supported the relationship. He liked Cole, respected him, and could see how happy he made Rose, but not everything was perfect. Marshal Hayes's investigation into the attack on Rose and Thomas had stalled. Despite descriptions and inquiries sent to surrounding towns, the three outlaws had seemingly vanished. Rose tried to hide her frustration, but Cole could see it eating at her. "I need closure," she told him one evening as they sat by the creek. "I need to know they have been caught and punished. Otherwise, Uncle Thomas's death means nothing." "His death means something regardless," Cole argued gently. "He died protecting you, trying to keep you safe. That was not meaningless. But they got away with it. They are out there somewhere, probably planning to rob and murder someone else. Hayes has not given up. He is still looking. Justice might be slow, but it comes eventually." Rose did not look convinced, but she let the subject drop. Cole pulled her close, and she rested her head on his shoulder. They sat like that as the sun set, drawing comfort from each other's presence. 2 months after Cole found Rose in the desert, he made a decision. He had been saving money for years toward his dream of owning a ranch, and while he did not have enough for a large spread, he had enough for a modest piece of land. More importantly, he had a reason now to stop drifting and plant roots. He spoke with Matthew first, out of respect and tradition. They were at the mine, taking a break from helping Matthew shore up a tunnel. "Mr. Gardner," Cole began, suddenly nervous despite having faced down armed outlaws with less fear. "I would like to ask your permission to marry your daughter." Matthew looked up from the water he was drinking, a smile spreading across his dusty face. "I was wondering when you would get around to asking. Of course you have my permission. I could not ask for a better man for Rose." "I do not have much," Cole felt compelled to admit. "I have some savings, enough to buy land and maybe a few head of cattle to start. It will be hard work building something from nothing, and Rose would be marrying into that struggle." "Rose is not afraid of hard work," Matthew said. "And she is not marrying you for money. She is marrying you because she loves you, same reason you are marrying her." "I do love her," Cole said simply. "More than I thought possible. I know. I see it every time you look at her." Matthew clapped him on the shoulder. "You have my blessing, son. Now go ask her properly." Cole had been planning to propose that evening, but his nerves got the better of him. He spent the afternoon cleaning up, putting on his best clothes, and second-guessing every word he had planned to say. By the time he made it to the cabin, his hands were sweating and his heart was racing. Rose answered the door, lovely in a simple yellow dress, her hair pinned up with a few curls escaping to frame her face. She took one look at Cole and smiled knowingly. "You look nervous," she observed. "What is wrong?" "Nothing is wrong. I need to talk to you. Is your father here?" "He is at the saloon playing cards. He said not to expect him until late." Rose's eyes sparkled with amusement. "Why do I get the feeling you two have been plotting?" "We have not been plotting," Cole protested, then reconsidered. "Well, maybe a little." Rose laughed and pulled him inside. "Sit down before you pass out. You look like you are about to be sick." Cole sat, then immediately stood again, too agitated to stay still. Rose, I have been thinking about the future, about my future, our future, if you want there to be in our future. I do want that, Rose said softly, all teasing gone from her voice. Very much. Good. That is good. Cole took a deep breath. I have saved some money, enough to buy land, not much, maybe 100 acres or so, but enough to start. I could run cattle, build a house, make something real and permanent. It would be hard at first, long hours and rough living, but I think I could make it work. I know I could make it work. That sounds wonderful, Rose said, watching him pace. Are you asking my advice? No. I mean yes, but also no. Cole stopped pacing and faced her. I am asking if you would share it with me, the land, the work, the life. I am asking if you will marry me, Rose. Rose's eyes filled with tears, but she was smiling. Yes. Yes, of course I will marry you. Relief and joy flooded through Cole. He crossed to her and pulled her into his arms, kissing her with all the love and passion he felt. Rose kissed him back with equal fervor, her arms wrapping around his neck. When they finally broke apart, both were breathless and grinning like fools. I do not have a ring yet, Cole admitted. I wanted to ask you first, make sure you said yes before I spent money on one. I do not need a ring, Rose said. I just need you. You will have a ring anyway, Cole insisted. Something simple but real. You deserve that. They sat together on the small sofa, making plans and dreaming about the future. Rose had ideas about the house, about how they could make it comfortable and welcoming. Cole talked about his plans for the ranch, about building it slowly and carefully to make it sustainable. Papa's mine is doing well, Rose said thoughtfully. He mentioned maybe taking on a partner, someone to help with the physical work while he handles the business side. He is getting older and the work is hard on him. I had not thought about that, Cole said, but it makes sense. Do you think he would consider me? I think you should ask him. The mine has potential, real potential. If you could help him develop it while also building the ranch, we would have two sources of income. That would make things much more secure. It was a sound idea, and Cole made a mental note to discuss it with Matthew. Having multiple revenue streams would indeed make their start easier and more stable. When Matthew returned home that evening, he found Cole and Rose sitting close together on the sofa, talking and laughing. He took one look at their faces and grinned. So I am guessing she said yes. She did, Cole confirmed, standing and shaking Matthew's hand. Thank you again for your blessing. You are family now, Matthew said warmly, or you will be soon. Have you set a date? Cole and Rose looked at each other. We have not discussed it yet, Rose admitted. No long engagement, Matthew said firmly. Life is too short and you two clearly love each other. Get married, start your life together, do not waste time. What about a month from now? Rose suggested, looking at Cole. That gives us time to get the license, make arrangements, but does not drag things out unnecessarily. A month sounds perfect, Cole agreed. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity. Cole found a parcel of land about 5 miles from Moab, good grazing land with water access and a decent spot for building. The price was fair, and he bought it outright with his savings. Matthew agreed to partner with Cole on the mine, drawing up papers that gave Cole a 25% stake in exchange for labor and help with development. Rose worked on preparations for the wedding, which would be simple but meaningful. They would marry in front of the small church in Moab, with Marshall Hayes officiating since Moab did not have a regular preacher. Rose made her own dress, a beautiful ivory creation with lace at the collar and cuffs. Cole bought her a ring, a simple gold band that fit perfectly. 3 weeks before the wedding, Marshall Hayes came to the cabin with news. We found them, he said without preamble. The men who attacked you and killed your uncle. They were caught trying to rob a stage outside of Green River. One was killed in the shootout, but the other two are in custody. Rose went pale, then flushed. Are you sure it is them? Pretty sure. But I need you to come to Green River and identify them to be certain. Can you do that? Yes, Rose said without hesitation. I need to do that. Cole immediately volunteered to accompany her, and Matthew insisted on coming as well. The three of them, along with Marshal Hayes and a deputy, made the journey to Green River, arriving 2 days later. The county jail was a grim stone building that smelled of sweat and despair. The sheriff led them to a room with barred windows, and the two prisoners were brought in, shackled and sullen. Rose studied them carefully, her face expressionless. Cole watched her, ready to support her if she needed it. After a long moment, Rose nodded. It is them. The one on the left shot my uncle. The one on the right held the horses. There was a third man, taller and thinner. That would be Jack Curtis, the sheriff said. He is the one who died in the shootout. These two are Sam Boone and Willie Turner. They have confessed to a string of robberies and 2 murders, including your uncle. Will they hang? Rose asked bluntly. Yes. Judge is coming through next week. Trial will be quick given that they confessed. They will hang before the month is out. Rose nodded, her face still showing no emotion. Cole took her hand, squeezing gently. She squeezed back, hard. They stayed in Green River for the trial, which was indeed quick. Both men were sentenced to hang for murder and robbery. Rose attended the sentencing, sitting straight and still in the gallery. When it was over and they walked out into the sunlight, she finally let herself cry. Cole held her while she sobbed against his chest, all the grief and anger and fear she had been holding finally pouring out. Matthew stood nearby, his own face wet with tears for his lost brother-in-law. It is over, Cole murmured into her hair. Justice has been served. You can let it go now. I know, Rose said, her voice muffled against his shirt. I know. I just wish Uncle Thomas could know that they paid for what they did. I wish he could have seen me marry you, seen me happy. He knows, Matthew said softly. Wherever he is, he knows, and he is at peace. They stayed for the hanging, Rose insisting she needed to see it through to the end. It was grim and quick, and Cole felt no satisfaction in watching 2 men die, even men who had committed murder. But he understood why Rose needed to be there, needed that final closure. Afterward, they traveled back to Moab, and Rose seemed lighter, as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. She threw herself into the final wedding preparations with renewed energy, determined to make their wedding day perfect. The day arrived sunny and beautiful, the sky a brilliant blue above the red rocks. Rose looked stunning in her ivory dress, her hair arranged in soft curls with wildflowers woven through it. Cole wore his best suit, brushed and pressed, his boots polished until they shone. The ceremony was simple but moving. Marshal Hayes spoke about love and commitment, about the challenges and joys of building a life together. Cole and Rose exchanged vows they had written themselves, promising to love and support each other through whatever life brought. When Hayes finally said, "You may kiss your bride," Cole did so with joy and reverence, kissing Rose as his wife for the first time. The small crowd of friends and neighbors cheered and clapped. The reception was held at the saloon, which had been cleaned and decorated for the occasion. There was food and music and dancing, and Cole had never been happier in his life. He danced with Rose until his feet hurt, not wanting to let go of her. As the evening wore on and the celebration continued, Cole and Rose slipped away to the small house Cole had been building on their land. It was not finished yet, but the main room was complete, with a bed and stove and a few pieces of simple furniture. "Welcome home, Mrs. Quinn," Cole said as he carried Rose over the threshold. Rose laughed, her arms around his neck. "I like the sound of that, Mrs. Quinn." Cole set her down gently, and they stood in the middle of their new home, holding each other. "Are you happy?" he asked softly. "Happier than I ever thought possible," Rose replied honestly. "A few months ago I was dying in the desert, certain my life was over. Now I am married to the man I love, starting a new life in a beautiful place. It feels like a miracle." "It feels like fate," Cole corrected. "Like we were always meant to find each other, meant to be together." They made love that night in their unfinished house, tender and passionate and full of love. Afterward, they lay tangled together in the narrow bed, talking quietly about their plans and dreams. "I want children," Rose said. "At least 2, maybe more. I want this house full of laughter and noise and life." "I want that too," Cole agreed. "I want to build something that lasts, something we can pass down to our children and their children." "We will," Rose said confidently. "Together we can do anything." The first year of their marriage was hard work, but deeply satisfying. Cole split his time between developing Matthew's mine and building up their ranch. He bought a small herd of cattle and slowly expanded the house, adding rooms as they could afford materials. Rose managed the household and helped with the ranch work, proving herself as capable with cattle as she had been with business in Denver. True to her word, Rose also continued her work with the Citizens Committee on Road Safety. She helped establish 2-way stations on the most dangerous stretches between Moab and Green River, stocked with water, food, and basic medical supplies. She spoke to every traveler she could, warning them of dangers and giving advice on safe travel. Matthew's mine continued to prosper, and he became wealthy enough to move into a larger house in town. But he spent most of his free time at Cole and Rose's ranch, helping with work and enjoying being near his daughter. Rose became pregnant near the end of their first year of marriage. She glowed with health and happiness, and Cole found himself even more in love with her if that was possible. He was nervous about becoming a father, but excited too. Their son was born on a cool spring morning, with Matthew pacing anxiously outside while a midwife helped Rose through the labor. Cole held Rose's hand through it all, awed by her strength and courage. When the baby finally arrived, squalling and red-faced, Cole felt his heart expand in ways he had not known were possible. They named him Thomas Matthew Quinn, honoring both Rose's uncle and father. Little Tommy was healthy and beautiful, and both his parents doted on him shamelessly. "He has your eyes," Rose said, gazing at their son as he nursed. "Green like mine, but with gold flecks like yours." "He is perfect," Cole said, gently touching the baby's downy head, "just like his mother." The ranch grew and prospered over the next few years. Cole hired a few hands to help with the cattle, and they expanded their herd significantly. The partnership with Matthew's mine continued to provide steady income, allowing them to make improvements and investments. Rose had 2 more children, a daughter they named Catherine and another son they named Daniel. The house was indeed full of laughter and noise and life, just as Rose had wanted. Cole often stood on the porch at sunset, watching his children play in the yard while Rose worked in her garden, and felt a deep contentment. Marshall Hayes caught Cole one day in town and pulled him aside. "I wanted to thank you again for all Rose has done with the committee. The way stations have saved lives, no question. Travelers are better prepared, and we have had far fewer incidents on the roads." "That is all Rose is doing," Cole said. "She wanted to make something positive come from what happened to her and her uncle. Well, she succeeded. She should be proud of what she has accomplished." Cole made sure to tell Rose what the marshal had said. She smiled but downplayed her role. "I just did what needed doing." Uncle Thomas's death will always be a tragedy, but if it led to changes that saved other lives, then at least some good came from it. Matthew grew older and eventually retired from active work in the mine, though he retained his ownership stake. Cole took over the day-to-day operations, managing the workers and the business side. It was more responsibility but also more income, allowing them to continue expanding the ranch. On their 5th wedding anniversary, Cole took Rose back to the spot by the creek where they had first acknowledged their feelings for each other. He had packed a picnic basket, and they sat on a blanket watching the water flow, much as they had that first evening. "Do you remember what you said to me here?" Cole asked. "I told you I had feelings for you," Rose recalled, smiling at the memory. "I was so nervous, worried you might not feel the same way." "I was terrified," Cole admitted. "Terrified that you did feel the same way and terrified that you did not. I had never been in love before, had never felt that vulnerable. And now I cannot imagine my life without you. You are everything to me, Rose. You and our children, the life we have built together. Finding you in that desert was the best thing that ever happened to me." Rose moved into his arms, fitting against him as perfectly as she always had. "You saved me that day, not just my life but me. I was lost in more ways than one, trying to figure out who I was supposed to be after losing my mother. You gave me purpose and love and a reason to keep fighting." "We saved each other," Cole corrected gently. "That is what love does. It saves us from loneliness and despair. It gives us reason and hope." They sat together as the sun set, painting the sky in brilliant colors, content in each other's presence. Around them, the land they had built a life on stretched out, beautiful and harsh and full of possibility. 10 years after Cole found Rose in the desert, they celebrated their anniversary with a large gathering at the ranch. The house had been expanded several times and was now a substantial home. The ranch ran 300 head of cattle and employed a dozen hands. The mine continued to produce, though at a slower rate than before. Matthew was there, grayer and slower but still sharp and engaged. He doted on his grandchildren, telling them stories and teaching them games. Cole's parents had even made the trip from Texas, meeting Rose and their grandchildren for the first time. It was a joyful reunion. As the party wound down and guests began to depart, Rose and Cole stood on the porch, watching the sun set over their land. 3 children played in the yard, their laughter carrying on the evening breeze. "Did you ever imagine this?" Rose asked, leaning against Cole's shoulder. "When you were riding the desert alone, working as a courier, did you ever imagine you would have all this?" "Never," Cole admitted. "I thought I would spend my life drifting, maybe save enough to buy a small piece of land and work it alone. I never imagined a wife and children, a real home, a family." "I never imagined it either," Rose said. "When I was lying in that desert, dying of thirst, I certainly did not imagine this. I thought my story was ending, not just beginning." "Our story is far from over," Cole said, pulling her closer. "We have years ahead of us still, more children to raise, more land to work, more sunsets to watch together." "I hope so," Rose said softly. "I want to grow old with you, Cole Quinn. I want to watch our children have children of their own. I want to build something that lasts long after we are gone." "We will," Cole promised. "Together we can do anything." The years continued to pass, each one bringing new challenges and new joys. Their children grew and thrived. Tommy showed an aptitude for ranch work and took over more responsibilities as he got older. Catherine inherited her mother's intelligence and drive, eventually taking over the Citizens Committee work that Rose had started. Daniel proved to have a talent for music and spent hours practicing on a fiddle Cole had bought him. Matthew passed away peacefully in his sleep at the age of 72, surrounded by family. Rose grieved for her father but took comfort in knowing he had lived to see her happy and settled. had known his grandchildren and been part of their lives. They buried him next to Rose's Uncle Thomas in the Moab cemetery, with a headstone that read, "Beloved father and grandfather, he found silver and family in these red rocks." Cole and Rose grew older together, their love deepening with each passing year. They had faced hardship and loss, joy and triumph, always together, always supporting each other. The ranch became one of the most successful in the region, and the Quinn name was respected throughout Utah. On their 25th wedding anniversary, their children threw them a grand party. The house was full of family and friends, neighbors and business associates. There was music and dancing and endless food. As Cole danced with Rose, both of them grayer and slower than they had been but still strong and healthy, he felt overwhelming gratitude for the life they had built. "Do you remember the first time we danced?" Rose asked as they moved slowly to the music. "At our wedding," Cole said. "You were the most beautiful thing I had ever seen." "You still say that," Rose teased, "even though I am old and wrinkled now." "You are still the most beautiful thing I have ever seen," Cole insisted, and he meant it. To him, Rose would always be beautiful, always be the woman he had found in the desert and fallen in love with. "I love you," Rose said simply. "Thank you for finding me, for saving me, for loving me." "Thank you for letting me," Cole replied. "Thank you for building this life with me, for giving me children and a home and a reason to wake up grateful every morning." They kissed, not caring that their children were watching and laughing, not caring about anything except each other and the love they shared. As the party continued around them and the desert sun set in a blaze of color outside, Cole thought back to that day 25 years ago when he had seen vultures circling and decided to investigate. It had been the most important decision of his life, the moment when everything had changed. He had quenched Rose's thirst that day, giving her water when she was dying. But she had quenched his too, filling a loneliness and emptiness in his soul that he had not even fully recognized. They had saved each other in every way that mattered. Their story, which had begun with death and desperation in the unforgiving desert, had become one of love and life and legacy. They had built something beautiful and lasting together, something that would continue long after they were gone, in their children and grandchildren, in the land they had cultivated, in the lives they had touched. As the stars came out above the red rocks of Utah, and the music continued to play, Cole held his wife close and knew that he was the luckiest man alive. He had found Rose stranded in the desert and had quenched her thirst, but in doing so, he had found the love of his life and quenched a thirst in his own soul he had carried for years. Their love story, born in hardship and grown through dedication and care, had become something rare and precious, a testament to the power of two people choosing each other every day, through good times and bad, through triumph and tragedy, until the very end and beyond.